Woohoo! We are live today, and it's Friday again. It's Friday. What to do now? That's the question. When you are deliberately manifesting something, sometimes we give our, I don't want to say sometimes we give ourselves deadlines, but we do because every day of the month has significance, right? There's things that must be done on different days of the month. So, what do you do when you miss the mark? Well, you look at what you've done. You first examine it, right? If you say, pardon me, whew. If you say, well, I needed something for the 15th and today is the 1st or the 2nd and I didn't get it, what do I do? Do I just give up or no? You don't give up, you examine. There's 3 steps, remember? The first step is knowing what you want and being clear about it. The second step is allowing what you want to inspire you to act in your imagination. And then the third step is to rehearse that feeling until it becomes natural to you. So, where did you miss something? Where did you miss it? Did you miss it in clarity? Meaning you kind of sort of know what you want, but you don't really? Or did you not get the scene? Did you not experience in imagination what you would experience in reality? Or did you stop partway through and did not continue to practice because for whatever reasoning? See, it's always going to be in one of those 3 places. So if you say, well, I'm not even really sure what I want. I kind of have an idea. Well, to fix that, clarity is required. But not just clarity. If you want to experience something in your outer world, accept what you want to experience in your outer world as real. Accept it. Why would you accept it? Because everything starts within the imagination. Absolutely everything. Whatever electronic device you are on at the moment was first imagined. So it's not that this person thought of it and then did nothing and nothing happened. No. When you have an idea, depending on the level of intensity at which the idea moves you, you will begin to experience things in your imagination. And as you experience it in your imagination, you'll get up and you'll do it there every day. Why? Well, let's give an example. Why am I yawning so much? Like, seriously, come on. I'm awake. I'm actually awake. um, Then Nikola Tesla. Now, he's famous for actually doing this. And people always say, well, perhaps he had quote unquote supernatural assistance. I think it's interesting how people will say that. They give no credit to what's within man, right? To say, well, maybe he had supernatural help. Did we ever stop to think that perhaps the supernatural is within him? But here's the thing. What he used to do, he would get an idea, and in his mind's eye, he would build his idea, and then he would turn it on. And if it did not work in the way he wanted it to work, he would shut it down and find the part that doesn't work and put another part in. And he'd turn it on again until such time that he did all of his tinkering with it, so that when he flipped the switch and turned it on in his imagination, it worked to perfection. And because it worked to perfection, then he would build it. So you see how efficient imagination makes you? When you get into your imagination, you're not sitting there and pretending that you're doing something. No, you are doing something. You're going through in your mind's eye what you want to experience in reality. And you go through it until one of them works best. So if it is your sense of smell that works best, you would go through your imagination and put yourself in a scenario mentally, because remember, you're building the machinery, but there's something wrong in there. You're like, it doesn't work quite the way I want it to. Let me turn it off. Now what's the problem? It's not turning right. It's making a noise that it shouldn't make, a clunking noise. So he found the part that was making the noise, and he took it out and he put something else in, until such time that when he turned it on in his imagination, it worked like a charm. How does that translate to your life? If you say, I want a new job, right? You don't like the one you're in presently. Well, you get into your imagination and you first of all select the type of job you would like. Now, if you don't know the name of the job that you would like, you do know how you want to feel when you go to work in your new job. I'm pretty sure you do. So if in your mind's eye, you go to work in your new job, you've just selected how you want to feel, which means you want to have good working relationships. You want to have a peaceful atmosphere at work. You want to get all your stuff done. You want to be recognized for your work. You want to be rewarded for your work. See how that makes you feel? Now, when you begin to tinker with it and go, okay, look, I want a workspace. I want my own office, my name on the door or my little name tag on my desk. And you go through it. And then you might say to yourself, I don't know do I really want my own office? I don't know. And you try on something else. And you say, well, that depends. Do I want to be training people? Do I want to be, do I just want to work alone? Do I prefer accounting? Do I prefer numbers to people? And you try that and you say, well, you know what? Maybe I like working alone. And so in your imagination, you start working alone. And you might find that when you work alone, you're like, maybe I want to be one of two people that share a space. We work together as a team. And you put that in your mind's eye and you start to feel it out. And you're like, hey, that feels a little better, Maybe I do want to work with just one other person. I'm okay. I don't mind the solitude, but the isolation might be a little much. And maybe that feels better. And then you say, all right, I like that. So we're going to share this workload. We're going to share our opinions. We're going to work with really tight knit, And you start to feel like when you go to work in your new job and your new position, that you get along. And you like the camaraderie of getting along with this new workmate. See, it begins to make you feel better. So now, what if you say, well, I don't know. What time do I want to start work? I don't like rush hour traffic. And so then you say, well, you know what? I start work at 9:30. So what would that feel like to you if you didn't have to drive through rush hour traffic? So you go through until finally you come upon a scenario that you have put together where you share your workspace with one other person and you both get along well. You're a fantastic team. You meet your deadlines. See, you get a sense of accomplishment in your new position. You get a sense of recognition in your new position. And all of that would tell you, what do you want your pay to be? You want a health spending account? Put all of that in there. Because what it does is it adds to your feeling of, yeah, this is what I want. And when you get that feeling down that says, I wouldn't change anything. So now that you say, I wouldn't change a thing, this is exactly what I want. You see the feeling of accomplishment? Because you'll get it the moment you say, yeah, that's what I want in a workspace. That's what I want in my new job. I want to feel like that every day in my new job. See how it makes you feel? You feel a sense of accomplishment. You feel a sense of, yeah, satisfaction. That's what you want. So from there now, you catch that feeling, that mood, because it's going to take you a little bit of practice. Every time you think of your new job, catch the feeling of it. Every time you think of your new job, catch the feeling, because then you're moving from thinking of it to thinking and living from it. Meaning you put together all of these pieces that seemed imaginary. But once you've completed the image, now you feel the accomplishment of it. So you're no longer thinking about it, you've already built it. And because you've built it in your mind's eye, you can say, I did it. Go Amanda Seals, right? So that's what you say to yourself. You're like, yeah, I did that. This is exactly it. And now that takes you right into step 3. So when you're falling asleep at night, you say, oh, wow, I just built my ideal job. And you see that feeling of confirmation that it's the ideal thing for me? That's exactly it. And you bring up that sensation, because the sensation will come up naturally when you think about your new job that you just put together every single aspect that you wanted. You say, yep, that's the one. And you begin to experience in imagination. You're sitting in your workspace. That's all you're doing. Even if you can't see yourself sitting in your workspace, you know the satisfaction that being in your new workspace gives you. So you feel the satisfaction. You fall asleep in the satisfaction. You wake up in the satisfaction. You go to your present job and you say to yourself, what? I already created my ideal job. So I'm just doing this because all these necessary components, all the people that have to come together to put all the pieces together, they're working it out right now. And you will find that you may have a mental shift at your old job. Because when you feel trapped in something, you begin to resent it and the people around you. But because you have created your ideal job in your mind's eye, your resentment from your old workplace diminishes. It begins to lessen. It begins to get weaker because there is an end for you. You put it in the mix. You said, I don't care. My last day is coming up, so I don't care. You see, when you know you're going on holidays, do you realize your attitude changes? But when you're coming back from holidays, do you notice that your attitude changes? That's what I'm trying to convey to you. See that attitude in there when you have built your ideal job and you go back to your old job and your work and you say, it's all good. I'm starting my new job soon, so I'm good. And you begin to talk yourself through it and you catch the mood of it. And then you go somewhere and you hear about something and you're like, oh my God, but that's it. Let me take advantage. This is what this was what I imagined. You keep the process going. If we disrupt the process with what's going on around us right here, right now, we begin to, instead of allowing ourselves to keep that captured feeling or mood, we allow the exterior to make us feel bad. You're not feeling bad tomorrow. You're feeling bad right now. And if you're feeling bad right now, you have to experience that right now. So, when you're holding on to your new image of your new job, in your mind's eye, it is happening now. But remember, the thing happening now in your imagination casts a shadow in the world. So you're not experiencing it twice. There's no duality. You're experiencing it once. But it's just that an echo has to be shouted out and then it comes back. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the more that you practice projecting your image of what it is you say you are, the echo comes back. The space between when you experience it in imagination and when you experience it in reality, that small space is where you have to convince yourself that it is done. Now, for some people, all they need to do is think about it and they know it's done. You see that level of certainty? You will get to that level of certainty by way of your practice of holding the state of your new job. Well, how so? Because the more you practice, the more sure you become. Because it begins to feel more and more real to you until such time that's all there is. It will crowd naturally everything else out. So we don't give up because we don't see it right there, right then. Think about what is happening. Remember, there's 8 billion of us. And if you stay persistent, somebody gets an idea and they follow through with it, but they might not follow through right there and right then. They may say, oh, maybe that's just my imagination. I don't know if that's real or not. But then they find that the feeling persists. And then within a couple of days, they act it out. So if you stop acting out what it is you want to experience, you stop the broadcast, you stop the projection. And if you stop the projection, whoever is being influenced to act in your world, they also stop because they don't have that projection coming at them to say, oh my God, I feel the need to do this. I feel the need to do that. Have you ever said to someone, oh my God, I was thinking about you and I just had to call you. I'm sorry it took me so long, but I was really struggling with that because I was like, I haven't spoken to them in a while. Should I call? Have you ever done that? Do you know why you followed through with it? Because they did not stop following through. The Bible story that matches that is Daniel. And he opened his window and he started praying. And so finally the angel made it to him. He goes, listen, the moment you started to pray, I set out to come to you. But I was intercepted by, what did he call him? The Prince of Darkness. So I had to keep fighting. Why did he keep fighting? Because Daniel kept praying. What is that story telling you? It's telling you the law of gender. You have an idea and you are projecting it. It does not stay inside your head. If what we thought stayed inside of our heads, they would not be able to put on those little caps and hook it up to a computer and measure what your brain was doing. So your thoughts don't stay inside. They are projected outward. And so when they are projected outward, someone is influenced and they don't know why. Just like you are influenced by someone else and you're like, man, I don't know, but I just had to do it. I'm sure we've said that many times. So whatever it is you want to experience in your reality, you must experience it in your imagination first. There is no way around that. Look at every single creative person you know. They just always seem to come up with new ideas, huh? How they, we have a word for them. They're innovators. Because they're always imagining. They're always tinkering with something that they're building in their imagination. And they don't stop until it feels right. So when I say to you, where are you faltering? Are you faltering in knowing what you want? Because if you don't know what you want, how will you see it? So the workaround is, if you don't know what you want, do you know how you want to feel? And then you use the feeling to bring about the experience you want. Remember, you can reverse cause and effect. So when you reverse them, if that's what you're going to do, you know how you feel, well then rehearse the feeling, because the feeling tells you you've done it, you've got it, you've accomplished your task. If you didn't have a feeling of satisfaction, the brain registers your feeling of satisfaction. And when you're telling yourself you're satisfied, you've met your objective, all of the necessary components have to come together, because you can use a thing to generate a feeling, but you can use a feeling to generate a thing. I'm trusting that this is making sense. So that's why it's important to know what it is you want to experience. But if you don't know what you want, you know exactly how you want to feel. And if you don't know what you want, nor if you don't know or how you want to feel, go back to the drawing board. And you'll find that you're also talking yourself out of it at the same time. You want it, but you're trying to justify wanting it. Pay attention to what you're doing. But once you get the clarity of what it is you say you want or you want to experience, you will begin to have imaginary conversations about it. You'll begin to experience in imagination what you want to experience in the outside world. And as we know, as within, so without. Naturally, that happens. And what do? We ruminate. We play it out over and over again. All the time. That's what we do naturally. So you see, where are you faltering? Step 1, step 2, or step 3? Where? So if you can pinpoint exactly where it is, and you say, well, I'm not staying faithful to my imaginal act. So if you say I'm not staying faithful to my imaginal act, what do you think the solution would be? The solution would be to practice so that you stay faithful to the imaginal act. Because how does the imaginal act make you feel? You imagine it and you imagine it and you imagine it and you imagine it until it feels the best. And by the time it feels the best, an opportunity on the outside presents itself so that you can do what? Experience in reality what you were rehearsing in imagination. It flows naturally. So you see, where in there does it say to beat yourself up and to cry incessantly? It doesn't say anything in there about that. It's clearly telling you what to do. And if you follow the process, you have to follow the process. Because before we became aware of the law, we were following the process. We had an idea and then we fleshed it out and it worked really good. And then everything fell into place and we did it. That's how we live life. So in this situation, you're doing the exact same thing. But instead of just it happening to you, now you're deliberately doing it based upon a specific experience you want to have. You say, I want to go on holiday. Well, I don't know where I want to go for holiday. Well, you can tell if you want to be on the beach. You can tell if you want to hike. You can tell if you want to be poolside. You see, you said I want to go on holidays, but I don't know where. But then you start thinking about it and you're like, you know what? What would feel really good to me? Man, let me go to Santorini. I want to visit Delphi. Greece. Well, no, I want to have pasta and lots of wine, and you want to go to Italy. You see what happens to you when you can decide what it is you want to feel like instead of not knowing, just saying I don't know what I want? Look at how you want to feel. And naturally, you will end up saying, oh my God, I'm going to go to France, or I'm going to go to Fiji, or I'm going to go to the Caribbean. And it just naturally flows out of you. And what do you naturally do? Some of us would say, I ain't got no money for that. But if you say to yourself, wait a minute, I might not have the money, but Neville says, you don't have to have the money. You just need to know where you want to go and see yourself there and experience yourself there. And something will happen in your world where the ticket would show up for you. All it requires is that you know what you want or how you want to feel, and you allow the natural thing that occurs, which is the image and the thoughts, and you just whittle it down and whittle it down till it feels the best, and then you flow right into step 3. You rehearse it. Some people are so good at feeling the sand between their toes, and they're not walking on sand yet. They're just in the backyard, but they can feel the vividness of that sand between their toes. Some of them can taste the virgin margarita. So whichever sense is strongest is the one you naturally will use. I trust that this breakdown makes more sense to you, so that if you catch yourself saying, man, I've been doing this for months and nothing's changed, then you now know to stop and ask yourself, what have I been doing for months? Have you just been thinking about it for months? Or have you been rehearsing your actions? Those are not the same things. If you've just been thinking about it, there's no real commitment. You don't feel any way about it. But the moment something has you in its thrall and you can't help but feel something when you are thinking about it, now you will act. But how will you act? You will act by way of your imagination first and foremost, because that is the only place to act. It is the only place to act. So if you want to know the exterior action, well, you've got to get the image right on the inside, and that is what will determine the exterior action. Oh my God, I can hardly wait. That was like Bree. Bree yesterday had a dentist appointment. I'm telling you from her TikTok, because this is what she said in her TikTok. She was at 25 minutes late. Do you know why she was late? Let me tell you something. This is why I love Bree. She is something else. She's so talented. She had this material just sitting there, and she had been just sitting on it like I want to make this thing, but I don't know. And she even said, I'm not going to try and keep figuring out the end all the time. I'm just going to start. You see, she did have an idea of what she wanted to do. And all she needed to do was start. So she looked at the material she had, and she started to cut it and snip it and pin it and all these things. Let me tell you why she was late. Because she made the outfit, and then she was snatched in this outfit. What? Talk about cute. And that's how she went to the dentist, in the outfit that she made before she left the house. So you see, when the image in your mind's eye is so intense that it just moves you to act, everything else stands still on the outside. And you just do it till it's done. That's what happens to us. We don't act until we're moved to do so, because the thing has to inspire you, because we're always moving. So the intensity that the thing moves you on the inside is how you will act it out on the outside. And she just had to get it done. Like, it was real pretty though. Like, just lovely. I'm like, how is she so creative? Like, to just sit there and just look at a crumpled piece of material, and that's not what she's seeing. I'm seeing it as crumpled, but in her mind's eye, the outfit is there. So you see, she has to mold and shape the material that's just a crumpled mess to match what's in her mind's eye. So she has to experience in imagination what she wants to experience in reality. So she had to put it on in her mind's eye. Oh, it's a little big here. Let me nip it and tuck it there. Until such time that it fit to perfection in her mind's eye. And then all she did was put it together, put all those little jumbled pieces together. And me, I'm just sitting here like, well, damn, make that shit look easy. I'm like, how do you make it look so easy? Because when the image is complete in your mind's eye, and that's what she had to do, because she said it herself. She's like, the reason why she procrastinates is because she's trying to get the image perfect. But what she's recognizing is she has the general idea of what she wants, the general pattern. And because she started to act upon that general pattern, the rest of it comes together for her. And because of how it makes her feel, it comes together. You're not different from her. I'm not different from her. The process is exactly the same. But what I don't know is how long she had that material sitting there. I don't know. I don't know how long she had the material just sitting there, because in the video, she just had it in her hand. She's like, oh, I've had this just sitting here. I got to do something with it. So that's the point. What is it that you are doing or not doing? You see the steps now. Know what you want. And when you know what you want, or you know how you want to feel, you begin to get an image coming together in your mind. You just naturally will. And you tinker with it in your mind's eye, and you tinker with it in your mind's eye until it feels the most natural. And then what do? You act it out in your mind's eye. Why? Because by the time you're done acting it out in your mind's eye, the acting out in your mind's eye builds intensity. Well, of course it does. It builds the intensity, because now when you get to the end part of it that you've just seen in your mind's eye, you're like, eureka. And you built yourself all the way up with all the tinkering you did in your mind's eye to get to a point of satisfaction with the mental image. And when you reach that point of satisfaction, that is when things happen on the outside that you get to do and take advantage of, that will bring about the image to match. So, which one are you stuck on? Step 1, step 2, or step 3? When you identify where you are stuck, you will fix it. Because if you say, oh man, I don't know what I want, but then you go back and you say to yourself, you know what? I do know how I want to feel. And that's where you start to build the feelings. which will take you naturally into step 2. And you'll begin to experience in imagination what you want to experience in reality. And when it feels real good to you and it feels natural to you, what happens? You end up doing it on the outside. The thing begins to sprout in your world. And you go through the door and you're like, oh my God, what a coincidence. No, it wasn't a coincidence. You're the one who sat there and fleshed it out. Listen to it. You fleshed it out. You gave it embodiment then. That's what you've done. So, the next time you and I are tempted to say, oh my God, I really want this thing and I just don't know how to make it happen. What you gonna do? You'll get clear on what you want or what you want to feel like. Yes, exactly. Some of you have your nuance, meaning some of you write things down. Some of you record things, verbally. Some of you sketch. What's your nuance? Bree, she's gonna sketch, man, because that's what she's designing it. Right? Some of you may taste. I wonder what we're gonna taste today. What's on the menu? I don't know. What do you want to eat? When you ask that question, what do you want to eat? Do you realize what you're doing? You taste the food. Well, that's how you choose what you want to eat, because of what comes across in your imagination on the tip of your tongue when you can taste it. And you say, you know what would taste so good right now? A piece of warm sourdough bread, lightly toasted and smothered with butter. And then you say, well, that's what I want. How do you know what you want? Because you tasted it. You experienced in imagination what you would experience in reality. And then what do? You move hella high water to get that sourdough bread, I'll tell you. Why? Because it is the taste that drives you to get it. So whatever it is that you have out of your 5 senses, that is the strongest one, that's your nuance. That's your personality. Use it. Why do you think you have senses? You have them so they tell you what you're experiencing. And what do scientists now boldly tell us? Well, your brain doesn't know if it's real or not. Your brain can't tell if it's your imagination or if it's happening right now. Do you know why that is? Because there's only now. So that's what you're experiencing right now. So it's not that the brain cannot decipher whether it is real or imaginary. The brain only works by way of imagination anyway. So I trust that you get it. Just simply know what step you're faltering on, and you will know how to autocorrect. For real, for real. But Angela, if it was that easy, everybody'd be doing it. Do you know why everybody's not doing it? Because we're busy complaining about it. That's why. And why am I telling you that? Because I'm just like you. I know exactly what it's like. Right? I know exactly what it's like to say, I really want that. Well, give it to yourself. There is nobody to turn to. Do you know why that? Do you know why that is? Because there's only you. Yeah, but don't we need people? How can someone play their role in your life if you do not give them the script? How do you give them the script for your life? Know what you want. Know what you want to hear. Know what you want to see. So if you want somebody to say something really cool to you, rehearse hearing it. So that when you encounter them, they don't have a choice but to say what you want to hear. Not because you're forcing them to do it, but because you have imagined it. And as within, so without. You're going to have to hear those words. And when you hear those words coming out of somebody else's mouth, you've already heard them passing over your eardrum. And all that person is doing is confirming what you did. You see, it doesn't have anything to do with them. It has everything to do with you. They are simply playing their role to show you what you wanted. So, my beautiful friends, pay attention to what you are doing. We do not live unwittingly anymore. What do I mean by that? We live by way of law all day, every day. Whether you want to or not, whether you do it deliberately or not, we live by way of law. But there are certain things we want to experience. And in order for you to experience, you've got to take the reins, so to speak, and put out into the womb of the world your mental image that you projected. That's what we're doing day in and day out. But doing it deliberately means, hey, I want to experience that specific thing. But if you don't guide by bringing up into your imagination what you would want to experience in reality, if you don't do that deliberately, how are you going to experience it? Because even in our unwittingness, people say, well, I always used to get what I want and I didn't know the law. You do not have to know the law to change your life. If you decide you want to change your life, you are invoking the law. So you don't have to know it. But the grace of knowing the law is you are in control of your existence. And that's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be in control of your existence. You're supposed to be responsible for your existence. Why? Because if I'm the one responsible for your existence, I'll make you do what I want to do. And I will make you do it. Oh, you have free will? Well, then exercise it. Yes. That's the point I'm trying to make. You are supposed to do these things of your own volition. You're supposed to say, I would like to experience ... That's what you're supposed to do. Or else somebody comes along, and because you are not using your will, it has to be used. It has to be used because it cannot stop moving. That would be in violation of principle number 3. Everything moves, nothing stands still. So you have to move. You have to do something. So you will either do what it is you are desiring to do, or you will do what someone desires you to do. And let me tell you, at the end of the day, if you're following what somebody wants you to do, one of you is happy and the other is not. Eat your peas, George. You see who's happy in this situation? And it won't be George, will it? So, learn to use the principles deliberately for any and every situation in your life. I do not care how mundane it is. Oh, do you need a new broom? We'll use the principles to get the new broom. What kind of broom would you like? And what do you say? Well, I would just go to the store and get the broom, Angela. But do you know before you get to the store to get the broom, you had to do something first? You had to desire a new broom. It is law. You must always have a desire. Contrary to popular belief, when people say, die to your desires, desires are the way to misery. When you find another way to move humanity, let me know. Humanity is moved by their desire because you have to move. You must move. It is law. So, if you can examine your life, if there's something that you want and you say, well, I'm just not getting it. Where? Which step? Step one, are you clear about what you want? And if you don't know what you want, do you know how you want to feel? Are you clear on that? Step two, can you see it? Are you beginning to experience in imagination what you would experience in reality? Step three, are you rehearsing it? Until such time the intensity builds that you just have to go and do the thing. But you're not just doing it. All of the necessary components required come together for you to complete the task. And you do it so naturally that it seems like it would have happened anyway. And of course, it would have happened anyway. Do you know why? Because of the initial seed that was selected and planted. That's why it looks so natural. That's why we can say the word, oh my God. That just happens so naturally. It cannot happen unnaturally. It can only happen naturally because it is the law. Mentalism, the all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. And that mental creation, as within, so without, as above, so below. Above is within, without is below. The thing that you say you are mentally is what you must experience on the outside. In other words, you have to reap what you've sown, as within, so without. Why would you? Because you are moving from where you are to where you're going. Everything is moving. It vibrates. The seed has to move from seed to sprout to sapling to flower to fruit to seed, all the way back again. It has to move through the stages, and it moves through polarity, poised opposition, where you began to where you're going, and it swings. You're always moving, and the rate of vibration will tell you. So however fast you're moving will tell you where you're moving. How slow you're moving will tell you where you're going. It will tell you what stage you are at. The rate of movement. It's not that the thing on the left is different from the thing on the right. The acorn is not different from the oak. The acorn is simply moving slower. But as you watch the acorn progress from acorn to sprout, and it gets to oak, you've seen the movement, the trajectory, the polarity between acorn and oak. Which means what? If you have an acorn, you're going to get an oak. You can't have an acorn and get beets. So the thing on the other side of the pendulum, oak, acorn, acorn, oak, are the same in their nature. They're not different. They are the same in their nature. It is just the rate of vibration, the rate at which they move, the speed at which they move that tells you what you have, acorn or oak. They're not different. So polarity does not mean opposite. It just means the acorn is on the left, which is where you begin. The oak tree is on the right, where you end up. Poised opposition, not opposite in their nature. That is not what polarity is. So that polarity now will move in a particular rhythm. a pattern, which means things are now predictable. If you have an acorn, what can you expect to get? An oak tree, but it has a particular way that only acorns grow. They have their pattern. That's the way they grow. We call it an ebb and a flow. High tide, low tide. Winter, spring, summer, fall. They are all rhythms of life, patterns of life that happen. And a pattern makes something predictable. Oh, well, how do you know that there's 28 days in a lunar cycle? Oh, a pattern makes you know when it starts and when it stops so that you can do what? Predict when it starts again. A pattern. You have a pattern, a particular way of doing things, a rhythm, which will do what? Cause and effect. High tide causes the water to come in and you can't go clam digging. So, what is the effect of the cause of a full moon? High tide. Cause and effect. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. But if you don't know the cause and you know the effect you would like to have, well, I want to go clam digging. That's the effect I want to experience. Then I have to do what? Go when the tide is out. So you can use the effect to bring about the thing, and you can use the thing to bring about the effect. You can reverse cause and effect. And finally, you have the law of gender, meaning it's not man, woman, boy, girl. That's not gender. Masculine, feminine. To be masculine is to generate an idea and to project it outward. That is masculine. Feminine. Hey, baby. So, feminine is to accept and put all the pieces together. And then once all the pieces come together, it is projected back. So, masculine. So you go from idea to fruition of the idea. And then you use the idea and then you get another idea. Can you see how it works? All in one fluid motion naturally. That the law makes everything flow beautifully and easily. And our task is simply to get into alignment with it. What do you mean by get into alignment with it, Angela? Know what it is you want to experience. Because you know, when you have that initial thought, you identify yourself with it. You say, I'm that. And then you must see what you are so that you can move from what you used to be to what you say you're becoming. And the thing you say you're becoming has a particular way of showing up, which causes you to behave different and brings about a different experience in your life as an effect. So that you can do what? Generate a new idea and do it all over again. So who's here? Let's welcome everybody, shall we? Hey, Mozinga, Sugar Visions. I see. I'm going to read your comments in a second, Mozinga. Miss Asanya, I see you. Listen, I know I want the margarita too, right? This is Island Life. Hey, the better man. And Wisdom Almighty. They're here on YouTube and Facebook. Mozinga said, what about those beneficial thoughts we imagine? Where do they come from? They come from you. You have the thought, right? And then you become aware of what you're thinking. So that thing that you are becomes aware of something. So first, you must know that you're the one who's here. If I say to you, where are you right now, Mozinga? You say, well, I'm right here. But you start with I am. It is always the awareness of self. You must know, because sorry. Well, he's aware who he is right now, isn't he? He's closer to the door. So when you say those beneficial thoughts we imagine, you are the one. You are aware of yourself, and then you become aware of yourself doing something. You become aware of yourself thinking. So those thoughts that you think are influenced by what you say you are. If you say, I am bored, you get a whole bunch of young men who are in a group together and they say, oh my God, like, we're so bored. They've become aware that they're bored. But now they're going to do something. But they can only do something along the lines of their boredom. So the thing that you say you are will show itself to you. Remember acorn and oak. If you are aware of being an acorn, well, then the only thing for you to do is oak. So whatever it is you say I am is how you have to be. So if you say, what about those beneficial thoughts? Where do they come from? They come from you, but they are conditioned by what you say you are. So it's not that you are your thought. You are the observer of the thought. But the type of thought that you get is determined by what you said you are. You see, when you say, Neville Goddard calls it unconditioned I amness. I didn't forget to welcome everybody else. Don't worry, I was just reading his comment. So when you say I am, there's nothing to it there yet. I am is just there. And it's waiting for you to do something with it. It's formless and it's shapeless. I am. But now you give it form and shape by telling it what you want to be. So when you say, oh, I am so lonely, now you have conditioned I am to act in a particular way, in the way of loneliness. Sorry, he gets louder. He's so cute. I hear you, baby. I trust that makes sense, Mozinga. He said he watched an episode of The Good Place yesterday, and it was called The Worst Possible Use of Free Will. Well, yeah, we have the free will to choose, but once you have chosen, that's where it ends. If you choose to plant, if you say, listen, I want an oak tree, what are you going to plant? An acorn. You can't plant anything else. So once you have chosen what it is that you want to become, that has its own way of showing up. That's why Neville says you don't have to lift a finger, because the acorn will become the oak. You just have to plant it, and it will do its thing. It will follow its pattern. So I trust that helps, Mozinga. Bubakar, you're here on Twitter. Hey, who's here on Fanbase today? Hey, CM. Happy is in the house. Oh, Dr. Love. I see you. Afternoon Delight is kicking it with us here. Miss Deborah. Oh, dear Deborah. Dr. Love and Asanya, if you remember that, you know who I'm talking about, because you're Bajan, so you know. And Beautiful is in the house. Ali is in the house. Miss McQueen is kicking it with us. Flo Smiles, Oracle Treehouse. Let me pop into the chat. Oh, good. There aren't any questions in the chat. Yay, I didn't miss anything. So I have prattled on enough. But I hope that in my prattling, you get what I'm saying to you. I trust that in that prattling, because it's the weekend, and we got things to do in the weekend. We got places to go and people to see, or people to do and things to see, whatever, right? That was from a movie. But as we go through this weekend, we're going to be faced with lots of things. But just remember the process. You're clear about what you want, so that you begin to experience in imagination what you would experience in reality. And you experience it there until it reaches its climax and it feels most natural for you. And then it sprouts in your world as your experience. As Neville Goddard gave us the example, he says, when I had my new suit and I was walking down the street, I thought everybody was looking at me. He was like, but nobody cared. So when you're doing this new thing and beginning to experience it in your imagination, it feels kind of funny and it feels like, oh my God, I've never done this before. That's okay. Stick with it until it feels natural. So that, like if you've ever seen that episode of, with Sheldon, when he sits on the couch and his butt cheeks have left the groove in the couch. Hey, that's what you're doing. You're doing it until you become so familiar with it. It's natural. It leaves its impression on you and you become it. Anywho, that's what I'm saying to you. Hey, right, Miss Asanya? Listen, man. Miss Asanya, I wonder if we can meet him. Do you see what I just did there? I just caught it. Don't worry. I told you. We live it every day. The mighty Gabby is the one who says, oh, dear Deborah, give me the sugar. Right? E-I-I-A. Sorry, that's his song for real. That's his. I grew up with that song. Sugar going down to 5 cents a pound. Let me stop, because I'll be singing that song all day now, right? Just because Miss Deborah is in the space, and that's who he sings about, Miss Deborah. But you see, because I said that to her, I now have the desire to meet him. I would love to meet the mighty Gabby, because I want to tell him face to face what he did to me. You know what he did to me? When I was growing up and they were trying to privatize beaches in Barbados, he wrote a song called The Beach is Mine. I could bed anytime. In spite of what he said, I can bed anyway. That's what he said. If you don't understand what I just said, he said the beach is mine. I can bathe anytime. In spite of what the government says, I can bathe anyway. Huh? He didn't get into politics. He didn't do anything, but he inspired the people of Barbados to go to the beach in spite of what the government was trying to do. And all he did was pick up his guitar. The beach is mine. That's all he did. And the whole island went to the beach. Huh? Everybody went to the beach. And do you think they've privatized beaches yet? No, but they're still trying. But every Bajan remembers, the beach is mine, right? Every single Bajan remembers. And so they go to the beach. So what did he do to me? He inspired me to look at a situation, because think about it, he was just one man. He was only one man with a guitar. And he looked out and he said, but wait a minute, you can't bully me. And all he did was sing. Now, did he know what would happen? I don't know, but I would like to ask him. What was his inspiration? Perhaps just the beach and being able to go to the beach at will was his inspiration, but I won't know until I ask him. So you see, out of our experiences that we do, a desire emerges. So because I'm singing here, Miss Deborah, I now have the inspiration to meet him because of how much he inspired me when I was a little girl with Afro puffs. So you see, desires emerge from us naturally. Because I can look and see Miss Deborah and I remember the song because it meant so much to me, the desire to meet him arose. So what am I going to do with that desire? Step one, I have the desire. What do I want? I want to hug him. And I want to tell him what he did for me all of these years in my life. That's what I want. How does it make me feel? It makes me feel so good. Because I'm telling you, the desire is to sing with this man because that's how much he inspires me. So what am I going to do? What would I do naturally? So what would I do in reality when I meet him? What would I naturally do? Well, if I know myself, I would put my hands under my chin and I'd get on my tippy-toes and go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That's what I would do naturally. I would totally fangirl it. And then I would, compose myself. Because that's what I would do naturally. So now, can I catch the feeling of doing that? Well, yes. It is done. Well, I just caught the whole feeling. So it is done. What am I going to do now? Absolutely nothing. But I'm sure after our trip to Barbados, you'll hear all about it. You know what I'm saying, Vern? That's what we do naturally. Naturally, we do it. You do something, you're living your life, and a desire emerges. And you bottle up how it makes you feel, and you go about your day, and something will happen, and you will experience it. That's it. Naturally. So anyhow, let me not prattle on. Didn't I just say I'm done prattling? Listen, Miss Sonia, I know, right? You tell me to forget that my grandmother was born right there, so all right. I say I shall go. And I hope you understand how I feel about Emerton, my homeland, my homeland, my homeland. Let me tell you something. When he wrote that song, you know why he wrote that song, Emerton? That's where he grew up. The government came with bulldozers and pushed down all their houses. He pushed them down. Where are those people going to live? And he wrote Emerton. That is the only song I could play on the guitar. I taught myself how to play it in the key of E flat. You see how much that man did for me? I've never played guitar in my life, but I sang the song and I plucked every chord as I heard it in my head. And that's why I can strum Emerton on the guitar. You see, when people leave an impression upon you, you act in certain ways. We act naturally according to the impression. Is what I'm trying to convey to you. But yes, the mighty Gabby, and listen, this is how powerful you knew how he was. The government banned his music off the radio. The government said no. Radio stations are not allowed to play your music. And so you see how influential one man could be with a guitar? Tell me how you can. Tell me how you can't influence the world with simply a desire. But let me land it. Let me get this bowl. So yes, somebody somewhere in your life inspired you. So as you hear the bowl and bird song this morning, can you identify where in those 3 steps that you're faltering? And then can you compose yourself and do it? Well, Miss Sonia, that's where the mighty Gabby comes in. Oh, that is where the mighty Gabby comes in, Miss Sonia. Don't you worry. This has been a desire for a long time, and I just never did anything with it. I haven't done anything with it. But I did just now. So we'll see. Let us get the bowl. And when you find your spot that you're faltering, you know how to fix it, do you not? Of course you do. Yes, you do. Do you need more clarity? Do you need to experience it in imagination? Or do you need to stay faithful to the rehearsal in the imagination? See? You know what to do. Come now. Anywho, let me get the bowl for us. And maybe he'll sing some more, right? Right, itty bitty? Oh. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, come on. 1. He's a stubborn boy. Thank you all for being here on this beautiful, beautiful Friday. Enjoy it. Enjoy the weekend. Do something you love and enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Anyway, enjoy yourself. Yes? And tonight, oh, what is the lecture tonight? I forget. Oh my goodness. Oh, I think the storm and the calm is tonight. Ooh. Just the title alone is enough to just intrigue you. The storm and the calm, I think it is. That's tonight at 10:45 p.m. So if you want to fall asleep with us, that's what we read. So it should be a great one. So go forth into this beautiful day and enjoy it. Enjoy it. Indeed. Much love to you. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, fan base. You know how we hang, right? Just hold tight.